I can't remember when I first learnt about the Skye Trail. I'd only been to Scotland a few times, and I'd now be venturing further afield up into the Highlands, which was about to leave a lasting impression on me. So I'm starting to think that I may have overdone it on my food. It's always hard to tell just because you never know how hard the hiker hunger is going to hit. And I know I've talked about this before, but I was hiking a trail in New Zealand and I ran out of food, so I don't want that to happen again. So for the Isle of Skye hike, there is Portree, where I think there's a co-op you can resupply at. It's just a lot of food, I'm not sure. I'll probably put it in a bag, realise it's too heavy, and we'll go from there. After driving for 9 hours and a hitchhike later, Max and I find ourselves in Portree. Good evening everybody. You join me from the famous Isle of Skye phone box, which is the starting point for the Skye Trail. We're hiking it together, so we're going to go have some food, find somewhere to pitch the tent, and yeah, get to bed. It's been a very long day. Yeah, we made it. Passing by Flodergarry, we headed up into the hills. We arrive at the Kerrang, where we join a fleet of daywalkers marching to and fro. It became super busy, and we also saw a wedding taking place. almost made it to the top. Still got that little extra bit to go, but we've come quite a way so far. So we came through there, and then we had to ascend up that hill, down it, down into the valley there, across that little plateau to arrive here. And the next journey is up there. I'm kind of anticipating Old Man Store to be quite busy because it's Saturday, it's a lovely day, and there were so many people over there yesterday, so I'm expecting this to be really touristy. Down there? I'm trying to figure out the right images. We're on the outskirts of Portree now. I'm quite excited just because there's the option of more food, so more snacks. So I'm looking forward to getting something savoury like a sandwich and then some kind of different choices of chocolates. Simple things. Onwards out of Portree involved a lot of road walking. Luckily, we'd spied out a little beach off the trail and found a lovely flat spot to pitch.
not a sound effect, that's actual thunder.
We awoke to poor visibility, which stayed all morning. We hadn't realised just how much road walking was on the Skye Trail, but it gave us a chance to see a different way of life. We saw an even number of new builds and older traditional houses. Just about everybody these days has a phone or a landline, so now the old red phone boxes are becoming redundant. Slowly, they've been turned into book swaps and also defibrillator points. Almost to Silgachan, we followed the edge of the bay and attracted the attention of the locals. Passing through Silgachan, which after reading the guidebook's description had had a lot of developments due to the influx of tourism. Soon we disappeared further into the valley, allowing us to leave the crowds behind. I really enjoyed this section. The valley was beautiful, and we got lucky with the campsite. It's quite odd to follow a trail which has no signposts. On the PCT there's a little diamond PCT every so often. Parts of the Te Aroa Trail in New Zealand, it's like a yellow and orange post or an orange sign. And with national trails in the UK, there's normally a little acorn or other things. But here, there's nothing, which is quite freeing in a way because there's no path, so you can just choose your own way. But yeah, it is quite unusual. So we set up camp beside this loch, which I will find the name of, Loch na Cretfian, and it's just started to rain. It's meant to rain a lot, quite heavy, so we thought we'd pitch the tent and get sorted before it gets too dark and the rain starts to really come down. It's about 10 to 6, so we were ready for tea and yeah, bed. I've got one of these fancy things Max has kindly given to me. Let's try it out. Smoky tomato paella. So I'm going to give this a go. And I've currently got chocolate orange buttons on the go. Yeah, today's been a really good hike so far. The rain's held off up until now, which is better than promised. Whew. Yeah, it's been good.
Smoky tomato paella, go.
Yeah, it tastes quite nice. It's like a nice kind of flavourful thing to have and a nice warm meal to have out.
Done a shot of it.
Setting out in the rain, we left the Bluebell campsite, which I give a 10 out of 10, would definitely camp there again. And onwards we walked to Camassinery, which is home to an off-grid house and a bothy. Only a little bit further and we reach Elgol, a tiny hamlet, and like everywhere else we've passed, it's full. Returning to the road, we continue. Unfortunately though, the rain descends and we struggle to find a good campsite. We end up camping on uneven ground and in a wind-free spot, meaning it's humid and the midges are out. The John Muir Trust has purchased this land and it is rewilding it. They're planting new birch trees and hazels. Thankfully, the day gave way to a sunny morning and we reached Torrin, where a lovely cafe resided with amazing cakes. This beach was a lovely and very welcomed find. We were able to dry our wet gear and enjoy the refreshing water. It was 19 degrees.
So the low point in terms of actual doing the trail, as opposed to things like realising that my kit was duff and so my feet and so on and so forth, those were all low points, but that's probably not what you're after. I think the low point on the trail was when we went past the bothy by the bay, and then we went into the cliffs, and it was like about 3 kilometres to the Elgar, wasn't it? And that 3 kilometres was horrible. It was just horrible. So we're on top of a cliff, which is not my best sort of experience anyway, being as I'm a bit pathetic about heights. It was really clammy. My feet hurt. It just took forever. And then when we finally got to somewhere we could have a little break, I realised that I'd left this had got snagged on the tree and got left behind. So I then had to walk back and go and retrieve that. And then we had lunch, which was quite reasonable. But then setting out from lunch, just nothing went right. I just couldn't even put my pack on, and that's when I had a slight meltdown number 2. And then threw my pack in a puddle, which just made it worse. That made everything worse. So yeah, that was definitely a low point, I think. 2 cents of human failures within an hour. That's pretty good going even for me. Often where we've camped, I think, we've managed to find spots that have been really nice and always really different as well. So we camped at a spot that, yeah, right, it smelled a bit funny, but it was really interesting spot to camp right next to the sea. And then we went through a thunderstorm there, which was great. You know, the tent held up really well. And then the next morning it was foggy and visibility was down to hardly anything. That was pretty cool. And then the same when we were camping, would have been the next night, I think, at the lock. You know, that was really good. We were in a field of just, well, bluebells next to the lock. That was good. That was a fantastic spot to camp. And we got really lucky on a lot of the camps that there just weren't any bugs, which made the night that there were bugs another low point, I think. So yeah, some of the actual trail has been the high points as well. Because I'm always dragging along behind, you know, I'm often just looking at my feet and putting one foot in front of the other and just trudging along trying to keep up. But occasionally you just look up and suddenly there's this just incredible vista in front of you, and there's these incredible rugged mountains, and it all makes it worthwhile.
So I guess one of my low points was probably last night when we got to camp. It had been starting to rain, you hadn't found anywhere that looked like a decent camping spot, and we did find somewhere alongside of this first bit of grass, flat grass we'd seen in a while. We started to pitch our tent in the rain, and then a local comes out in Kilmarie. He came out and said it probably wouldn't be wise we camp there because a local comes on a quad bike and moves us on. Despite wild camping being legal in Scotland, I guess you have to respect the locals' wish. So we trudged over to the other side of the bay where we found somewhere that was flat but bumpy, and it was rainy and humid and there were midges everywhere. So that was a low point. And I'll probably say a high point for me is the diversity of the trail. It started so rugged on the top end of North Point of Skye, and then we traversed all the way down to the south, and it's changed a lot in terms of the locks and everything we've seen. So yeah, the diversity was actually quite surprising, but I actually really came to enjoy that. Cheers. This has been my favourite campsite and a fitting end for the trail. We traversed 128 kilometres, or 80 miles, and we'd seen a lot of the Isle of Skye. I had a quick beach clean before we departed for the final leg. The going hadn't always been easy, especially for Max, but he'd done really well for his first thru-hike. Thankfully, the weather held and we were able to finish with dry feet. I'd spied a pizzeria, and once we were showered and out of our hiker clothes, we both demolished a 12-inch pizza each. Would I recommend the Skye Trail? Definitely.